Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. We're going to be taking a look today at some AI stocks that took a hit in 2024.
Yeah, those that have the potential.
It might be poised for
a big 2025.
a big turnaround in 2025.
That's right.
So the source material for this deep dive is a Molly Fool article.
Okay.
It's called Too Extraordinary Artificial Intelligence. AI stocks down 43% and 31% to buy before they turn around in 2025.
Okay.
It's focusing on AMD and Adobe.
Interesting.
Two companies that I think,
Yeah.
kind of raised some eyebrows last year when we saw their performance.
Well, it is interesting that with all this excitement, surrounding AI,
Yeah.
you would think any company that was making progress in that area would, see their stock just soar.
Right.
But the market doesn't always behave so predictably.
It's almost like, judging a movie based on the hype rather than the actual content.
Yeah.
Everyone expects a blockbuster, and if it's anything less, they're disappointed.
Right. Yeah. So I'm trying to wrap my head around why investors weren't maybe as impressed as they could have been, especially with AMD.
Right.
They did have some pretty impressive advancements, didn't they?
They did, but the stock market often operates on sentiment and expectations.
Right.
And sometimes, even strong progress doesn't quite meet the forecasts.
Yeah.
And that can lead to some sell-offs, even when a company's, underlying business is actually doing quite well.
Okay. And in the case of AMD,
Yeah.
they've also been sort of overshadowed by NVIDIA?
Right. In the AI chip race.
Right.
NVIDIA has just become almost synonymous with AI hardware.
Right.
So it's hard for, other players to get the same kind of attention.
That makes sense. So let's delve into AMD specifically.
Yep.
Their stock plunged 43% from its high in 2024.
Wow.
So that's a pretty significant drop, especially considering the growth that we saw in the AI sector.
Right.
What happened there?
Well, as you mentioned, NVIDIA has been really dominating the market, especially when it comes to training AI models.
Right.
Think of it like building the foundation of a skyscraper. It requires a tremendous amount of computing power.
Right.
That's where NVIDIA really excels.
Okay, so NVIDIA's got the muscle then.
Yeah.
Where does AMD fit in?
Right.
They've done something right to attract partnerships with,
Yeah.
big companies like Oracle and Microsoft and Meta.
They have AMD's strength lies in AI inference.
Okay.
So this is the stage where AI applications actually run and put those trained models to work.
Got it.
So you've built your skyscraper.
Right.
Now you need a system to operate the elevators. You need to manage the electricity, keep everything running smoothly.
Right.
And that's where AMD shines.
So they're not trying to outmuscle NVIDIA. They're playing different game.
Different game.
Okay. And focusing on efficiency and cost effectiveness.
Yeah.
Is that why those big companies are interested?
That's a big part of it. These tech giants are always looking for ways to optimize their AI workloads.
Right.
And AMD's chips offer a compelling alternative to NVIDIA, especially when you're talking about, large-scale deployments where cost efficiency becomes really important.
So it seems like while investors may have initially overlooked this aspect of AMD, the partnerships and their strong data center revenue growth,
Yes.
122% year over year in Q3 2024.
Wow.
Which actually surpassed NVIDIA's growth in that segment.
He did.
Seem to indicate that they're on the right track.
Yeah. And, it's a smart move for them to focus on inference.
Yeah.
Think about all the AI applications that we're using every day.
Yeah.
Voice assistants, image recognition, personalized recommendations.
Yeah.
These rely heavily on inference.
Okay.
And that's where AMD could really carve out a dominant position.
That's fascinating. It feels like we're starting to see beneath the surface here and understand not just the technology, but also the strategic positioning that could drive AMD's success.
Exactly.
It's not just about being the biggest. It's about being the best at what you do.
Right.
And for AMD, that seems to be inference.
I guess.
So to kind of better understand this, let's take a quick detour into a key financial metric.
Okay.
Earnings per share, or EPS.
Right.
It essentially tells you how much profit a company makes for each share of its stock.
Right.
And investors love EPS, don't they?
They do. It gives them a really clear picture of a company's profitability.
Yeah.
And a growing EPS usually signals that a company's doing well and generating more value for its shareholders.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what does AMD's EPS tell us?
Well, analysts are predicting 54% EPS growth for AMD in 2025.
Wow.
which is a significant jump.
That's huge.
And that's really fueling a lot of the optimism surrounding the company.
Okay, so even though their stock took a hit in 2024,
Yeah.
this projected EPS growth suggests that investors might be starting to recognize their potential.
Exactly. And this leads us to another important metric.
Okay.
The forward price-to-earnings ratio,
Okay.
or the forward PE ratio.
Now, I've definitely heard of PE ratios, but sometimes I get lost in the jargon.
Sure.
Can you break that down for me and for anyone else listening who might not be familiar with it?
Yeah, so the forward PE ratio essentially compares a company's current stock price
Okay.
to its expected future earnings.
Gotcha.
So it helps investors understand if a stock is overvalued or undervalued based on its growth prospects.
So a high PE ratio might indicate that the company's stock is overpriced.
Right.
While a lower PE ratio suggests it might be a bargain.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And in AMD's case, their forward PE ratio is around 24,
Okay.
which is relatively attractive
Yeah.
compared to other growth stocks in the tech sector.
Okay.
So again, suggesting there could be some significant upside potential.
All right. So we're seeing a convergence here.
Yeah.
Strong performance in a specific niche, impressive growth, and a potentially undervalued stock. It's starting to paint a picture of why AMD might be poised for a comeback in 2025.
Absolutely.
But before we get too carried away with AMD,
Okay.
let's switch gears and take a look at Adobe.
All right.
Another company that saw its stock drop in 2024.
Right.
Despite making strides in AI, their stock fell 31% from its high,
Yeah,
which seems counterintuitive,
it does.
considering all the hype around their AI-powered features. So I'm curious to understand what made investors hesitate.
Well, one factor might be that Adobe is focusing on a very specific area of AI,
Okay.
what they call commercial safe, generative AI.
Commercial safe AI.
Yeah.
I have to admit, that's a new one for me.
Okay.
Can you explain what that means
Sure.
and why it might have impacted investor sentiment?
Yeah, so think of it like using royalty-free images or music.
Okay.
You can use them in your work without worrying about copyright lawsuits.
Right.
That's the peace of mind that Adobe is offering with their commercial safe AI.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. So Adobe is focusing on providing AI tools that businesses can use
Right.
without fear of legal repercussions.
Exactly.
So wouldn't that limit their market to a degree?
It could.
You know, after all, not every business might be so concerned about copyright issues.
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
And it might have contributed to some of the investor hesitancy.
Right.
Some investors might be looking for, really explosive growth potential.
Yeah.
And Adobe's focus on a specific niche might seem, less exciting
Right.
than a company that's developing AI for, a mass market application.
But couldn't this targeted approach be a strength in the long run?
It could.
Building a reputation as the go-to provider for legally sound AI tools?
Absolutely. Think about all the concerns around copyright and AI-generated content.
Mm-hmm.
Adobe is strategically positioning themselves to address those concerns head on,
Right.
which could be a huge advantage as the market matures.
It's like they're building a moat around their business.
Yeah.
Right? Differentiating themselves through trust and reliability,
Right.
rather than just chasing the latest AI trends.
Exactly.
It's fascinating to see how a company's philosophy can translate into a tangible market strategy.
Right.
So Adobe's commitment to this approach is evident in their product offerings.
Yes.
Their Gen Studio platform, for example,
Yeah.
is a powerful tool that's specifically designed to help marketers
Right.
develop and optimize their campaigns using AI, all while staying within the bounds of copyright law.
Exactly.
So, okay, Gen Studio is a good example of how Adobe is putting this commercial safe philosophy into practice.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how it works
Yeah.
and why it might appeal to marketers?
Well, imagine being able to create, really targeted ad campaigns across multiple platforms, personalize content to individual users,
Okay.
even generate compelling copywriting,
Right.
all with the assurance that you're not infringing on any copyright.
Right.
That's the power of Gen Studio.
Wow.
It takes the legal headache out of AI-powered marketing.
That's incredibly valuable in today's digital landscape.
It is.
It sounds like Adobe is really addressing a pain point for businesses,
Yeah,
especially those operating in industries where copyright is a major concern.
absolutely.
And they're using a clever strategy to attract new users
Yeah.
and showcase the potential of their AI tools.
They're offering basic AI features
Right.
in their free software, Adobe Express.
Okay.
It's like a test drive giving people a taste of what's possible.
Right. The classic freemium model, get them hooked on the free stuff, and then upsell them to the premium version with all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. And Adobe is strategically using their AI features to justify price increases for their premium products.
Okay.
They're also implementing a credit-based system where users can purchase additional credits to access more advanced AI capabilities.
Gotcha. So they're creating multiple revenue streams from their AI investments, both through subscriptions and usage-based models.
Exactly.
It seems like they're building a sustainable and adaptable business model.
They are, but even with all these positive aspects, Adobe's 2024 financial results and their 2025 forecast fell short of some analysts' expectations.
Really?
Yeah.
So even though they seem to be making smart moves in the AI space, the financial numbers weren't quite as stellar as some might have hoped.
Yeah, they're projecting 11% annual recurring revenue growth. And earnings per share of $20 and $20.50.
Right.
Which some investors found, a little bit disappointing.
Why do you think that is?
Well, as we discussed earlier, their focus on this commercial-safe AI might be perceived as limiting their market potential in the short term. Investors often have this growth at all costs mentality. And Adobe's more measured approach might not align with that.
But wouldn't their strong position in the creative and marketing software markets, combined with their unique AI offerings, give them a significant competitive advantage?
It absolutely could.
Yeah.
And that's why some analysts believe that Adobe might be undervalued right now. They're currently trading at less than 22 times their projected 2025 earnings per share.
Right.
Which, suggests there could be room for growth.
Interesting. So while some investors might be disappointed with their 2024 performance, others might see this as an opportunity to buy into a solid company.
Exactly.
With a long-term vision.
It all comes down to individual investment goals and risk tolerance.
Right.
Some investors might prefer high-growth, high-risk companies. Whereas others might be more attracted to Adobe's stability and steady growth potential.
Okay, so we've taken a deep dive into AMD and Adobe's current positions. Their strategic approaches to AI. And some of the factors that might influence their stock performance in 2025. But what about the future? What are some potential game changers that could either propel these companies to new heights or create unexpected roadblocks?
That's a great question, and that's where things get really interesting. Let's start with AMD. AMD has some new chips in development that are slated for release in late 2025 and early 2026.
So what's all the buzz about these new chips?
Well, the rumors are pretty exciting. They suggest that these chips could be a significant leap forward in processing power. Potentially closing the gap with NVIDIA's top-tier offerings.
Wow.
So if AMD can deliver on those promises and maintain their cost advantage, it could be a real game changer.
So imagine AMD chips powering the next generation of AI applications. From self-driving cars to advanced medical diagnostics.
Exactly.
That's a future a lot of investors would want to be a part of.
Absolutely. But it's not just about raw power.
AMD's
existing partnerships with companies like Microsoft, Oracle, and Meta, those could be key to their success as well. Imagine those companies integrating these powerful new chips into their cloud platforms. It would give businesses of all sizes access to cutting-edge AI capabilities.
It's like a chain reaction. AMD innovates their partners' benefit, and suddenly the whole AI landscape is shifting. But it also makes you realize how much depends on these collaborations.
It does.
What if those relationships were to change?
That's always a risk. And it's something that investors should definitely consider. If, for example, Microsoft decided to go all in on NVIDIA or develop their own AI chips, it could impact AMD's growth trajectory.
It highlights the importance of diversification for companies operating in such a dynamic industry.
Absolutely.
So lots of potential upside for AMD.
There is.
But also some factors that could throw them off course. Let's switch back over to Adobe. What are some potential breakthroughs or roadblocks they might face?
Well, for Adobe, it all comes down to execution. Their commercial-safe AI approach is a strong differentiator. But they need to continue to innovate and expand their offerings to stay ahead of the curve.
I'm kind of curious about the future of Gen Studio. It's already a powerful tool.
It is.
But what could that next generation of AI-powered marketing look like?
Well, imagine a version of Gen Studio that's not just helping marketers create and optimize campaigns, but it's actively predicting consumer trends.
Wow.
And suggesting entirely new strategies based on, vast amounts of data.
It's like having an AI-powered marketing guru on your team.
Yeah.
Constantly analyzing data and coming up with innovative ideas.
Right.
It sounds too good to be true.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done to get there.
Yeah.
But the potential is definitely exciting.
Right.
And as AI models become more sophisticated, who knows what's possible?
So both companies have the potential to really disrupt their respective markets. But there are also challenges and uncertainties ahead.
Right.
This wouldn't be a deep dive if we didn't acknowledge those risks, right?
Absolutely. We've touched on a few already. Yeah. Competition, reliance on partners.
Sure.
The ever-evolving landscape of technology.
Right.
But there are broader risks, too.
Yeah.
Like economic downturns, regulatory changes.
Yeah.
These could impact any company, regardless of how innovative they are.
Right. So no matter how promising these companies seem, investors need to do their homework and understand the risks involved.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, what kind of research should our listener be doing if they're considering investing in either AMD or Adobe?
Well, I always recommend looking beyond the financials and really digging into the company's strategies, their leadership teams, their research and development efforts.
Yeah.
Understanding a company's culture and vision can give you really valuable insights into their long-term potential.
It's like looking under the hood, not just admiring the paint job.
Exactly.
Understand what's driving the engine.
Right, and don't forget to keep up with industry trends and competitive analysis.
Right.
The world of AI is incredibly dynamic.
Yeah.
So staying informed is crucial.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've explored AMD and Adobe's potential for a 2025 turnaround.
Right.
Delving into their strengths, their strategies, the risks they face.
Yeah.
And even kicking into the future of AI.
A little bit.
What are some key takeaways you hope our listener walks away with?
Well, I hope they gain a deeper understanding of what drives stock market valuations.
Right.
Going beyond the headlines.
Yeah.
And really appreciating the nuances of a company's performance and potential.
It's not just about chasing the hype. It's about understanding the underlying forces that shape an industry and a company's trajectory.
That's what a deep dive is all about.
Right.
We've equipped them with the knowledge to make their own informed investment decisions.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes this so rewarding. We're not giving financial advice.
Right.
We're empowering listeners to become more informed and confident investors.
Exactly.
It's about giving you the tools to navigate the complex world of finance.
Right.
And make choices that align with your goals.
Well said.
So there you have it, our deep dive into AMD and Adobe.
Yeah.
Two companies with the potential to shake things up in 2025 and beyond. Mm-hmm. As we've learned, the AI landscape is constantly evolving.
It is.
Presenting both opportunities and challenges.
Right.
But with careful research.
Yeah.
A long-term perspective.
Absolutely.
And a healthy dose of curiosity, you can navigate these complexities and potentially reap the rewards.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
It's been fun.
Until next time, stay curious.
AMD has these new chips in the pipeline, slated for release in late 2025 and early 2026.
Okay, so what's the buzz about these new chips? Could they be the breakthrough that really puts AMD on the map in the AI hardware space?
The rumors are exciting. They suggest that these chips could be a significant leap forward in processing power, potentially closing the gap with NVIDIA's top-tier offerings.
Okay.
If AMD can deliver on these promises and maintain their cost advantage, it could be a real game changer.
Imagine that AMD chips powering the next generation of AI applications, from self-driving cars to advanced medical diagnostics. That's a future a lot of investors would want to be a part of, right?
Absolutely. But it's not just about raw power. AMD's existing partnerships with companies like Microsoft, Oracle, and Meta could be key to their success. Imagine those companies integrating these powerful new chips into their cloud platforms. It would give businesses of all sizes access to cutting-edge AI capabilities.
It's like a chain reaction. AMD innovates, their partners benefit, and suddenly the whole AI landscape shifts. It's exciting, but it also makes you realize how much depends on these collaborations. What if those relationships were to change?
That's always a risk, and it's something that investors should consider. If, for example, Microsoft decided to go all in on NVIDIA or develop their own AI chips, it could impact AMD's growth trajectory.
Right.
It really highlights the importance of diversification for companies operating in such a dynamic industry.
Makes sense. So lots of potential upside for AMD, but also some factors that could throw them off course. Let's switch back over to Adobe. What are some potential breakthroughs or roadblocks they might face?
For Adobe, it all comes down to execution. Their commercial-safe AI approach is a strong differentiator, but they need to continue to innovate and expand their offerings to stay ahead of the curve.
Right. I'm curious about the future of Gen Studio. It's already a powerful tool, but what could that next generation of AI-powered marketing look like?
Well, imagine a version of Gen Studio that's not just helping marketers create and optimize campaigns, but it's actively predicting consumer trends and suggesting entirely new strategies based on vast amounts of data.
It's like having an AI-powered marketing guru on your team, constantly analyzing data and coming up with innovative ideas. It almost sounds too good to be true.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done to get there, but the potential is definitely exciting. And as AI models become more sophisticated, who knows what's possible?
So both companies have the potential to really disrupt their respective markets. But there are also challenges and uncertainties ahead. This wouldn't be a deep dive if we didn't acknowledge those risks, right?
Absolutely. We've touched on a few already. Competition reliance on partners, the ever-evolving landscape of technology. But there are broader risks too, like economic downturns or regulatory changes. These could impact any company, regardless of how innovative they are.
So no matter how promising these companies seem, investors need to do their homework and understand the risks involved. Speaking of which, what kind of research should our listener be doing if they're considering investing in either AMD or Adobe? Where do they go beyond the headlines and the hype?
I always recommend looking beyond the financials and really digging into the company's strategies, their leadership teams, their research and development efforts. Understanding a company's culture and vision can give you really valuable insights into their long-term potential.
It's like looking under the hood, not just admiring the paint job. Understand what's driving the engine. That's fantastic advice.
And don't forget to keep up with industry trends and competitive analysis. The world of AI is incredibly dynamic, so staying informed is crucial.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored AMD and Adobe's potential for a 2025 turnaround, delving into their strengths, their strategies, the risks they face, and even peeking into the future of AI. What are some key takeaways you hope our listener walks away with?
I hope they gain a deeper understanding of what drives stock market valuations, going beyond the headlines and really appreciating the nuances of a company's performance and potential.
It's not just about chasing the hype. It's about understanding the underlying forces that shape an industry and a company's trajectory. And that's exactly what a deep dive is all about.
Exactly. We've equipped them with the knowledge to make their own informed investment decisions.
And that's what makes this so rewarding. We're not giving financial advice. We're empowering listeners to become more informed and confident investors. It's about giving you the tools to navigate the complex world of finance and make choices that align with your goals.
Well said.
So there you have it, our deep dive into AMD and Adobe, two companies with the potential to shake things up in 2025 and beyond. As we've learned, the AI landscape is constantly evolving, presenting both opportunities and challenges. But with careful research, a long-term perspective, and a healthy dose of curiosity, you can navigate these complexities and potentially reap the rewards. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious.